Hey everyone, just an update. I know I haven't uploaded this past week. I had a fever of 105 and I just didn't have the energy. I've been sick for the past 2 weeks with this mystery illness that we still have yet to identify. So if I sound a little congested, you know why. Now that that's out of the way, let's get on with the video. This is something that happened to a friend and I while home alone. Every time I tell this story, it still shocks everyone in the room. It was the summer of 2021, and I had lived with my mom at the time who worked as an RN. Mind you, COVID was still rampant at the time, so that meant she had a lot of work to do when it came to treating patients. This resulted in her not being home for a lot of the time, which meant that I'd have the house to myself. One night, my mom was at work as usual, and I had been home alone, bored out of my mind. With nothing to really do, I call up my friend Chris and ask him if he wanted to come over. Now, I wasn't allowed to have anyone over, but being the young and rebellious teen I was, I of course didn't care. Since Chris lived in the next town over, it wasn't long before he arrived. We played basically all of the games I had, from COD all the way to GTA, while eating a bunch of snacks and pizza. As the night progressed, we started watching a few movies and sort of became bored. Not knowing what else to do, Chris recommends that we go upstairs and film some funny videos for YouTube. We didn't really know what to film, so I just started recording Chris doing backflips on the bed, thinking that it was good content. Keep in mind, we were both dumb teens, and this was the type of stuff we got a kick out of. I'd say we filmed each other doing the same thing when we decided to end it there and edit our footage on the computer. At this point, we're uploading the footage to the computer when I noticed something in one of the frames that I found odd. In the upstairs closet next to the bed, I could see something on the door frame. It only took me a few seconds to realize that what I was looking at was a hand wrapped around the closet door. "Chris, do you see that?" I said. As soon as I mentioned it, he had this look of shock on his face and came to the realization that we weren't alone in that room. As frightened as we were, we began to hear footsteps coming down the stairs. I grabbed Chris and whispered that we had to leave through the back door. As we're tiptoeing over to the back door, we see footsteps begin to slowly descend down the stairs. I couldn't tell who it was, but that didn't matter to us. What mattered was leaving the house and ensuring we were safe. Chris and I went out the back door and hid in the shed until we were sure the person was gone. 15 minutes felt like 15 hours as we stayed hidden in the shed waiting for this person to come out. Eventually, however, this person we had seen did end up coming out, and when I saw who it was, I couldn't help but say something. It was a woman in her mid-50s, and I instantly recognized her as my neighbor. I let out a sigh of relief when I saw her, and opened the shed to call out to her. However, as I made my presence known, she instantly booked it and ran back to her house. I was confused at first, as I wasn't sure why she was in my house or why she ran. Needless to say, we were both kind of relieved and went back inside to call my mom just to ask her if the neighbor was supposed to come by. There was a short pause before she answered, saying that she had no idea what I was talking about and that she was calling 911. Keep in mind that my mom barely knew my neighbor, so there was no reason she should have been here. 10 minutes go by, and I see multiple police cars pull into my neighbor's driveway. I then see her being taken into custody by the police, as well as 2 officers by my door. After I was greeted to the police officers, they then told me that my neighbor actually confessed to breaking into my home to steal my mom's jewelry. She knew my mom wouldn't be home, and I guess she saw it as an opportunity to steal. While this might not have been the scariest thing that's happened to me, it's definitely one I won't forget. My neighbor thankfully gave whatever she stole back and has since been in jail. Four years ago, my girlfriend and I bought a house in the suburbs of Central Florida. It was at least 70 years old and was still in pretty good condition for a house that old. It was a nice 2-storied home in somewhat of a quiet residential area with no issues or anything like that. At first it seemed like the perfect house to start our lives in, and that was the case for about a month or so. That was until something happened one day that would forever break me. It was the middle of summer, and my girlfriend had gone to work while I had stayed home sick after going out to a club the other night. I didn't mind it though, as I could use the quiet, and I was trying to get over this illness as fast as possible. Anyway, my girlfriend had gone to work, leaving me to tend to the house. While I did enjoy the quiet, I knew I would miss her as she works in healthcare and would often work long hours. After she left, I rested for a good hour or so and had went downstairs to grab a snack before going back up again. Not knowing what to do, I just put on a movie to keep myself busy in hopes of falling asleep to rest more. At one point during the movie, I hear the tires screech of a car coming from outside. This was weird as there was almost no one that drives recklessly around here, so I could only assume it might have been an accident. I looked down from my bedroom window, and parked in my driveway is a white van I've never seen before. At this point, I'm shitting bricks right now as I wasn't sure who these people were or what they were doing here. Not even a minute later, I hear the frantic knocking on my front door, followed by several people yelling and screaming. I run down to the front door and look through the peephole and see these intimidating men pounding on my door. I speak into my Ring doorbell and ask them who they were and what they were doing on my property. The guy that was closest to the door responded by saying, "Don't play stupid with us. You know who we are. We want our money that you owe and you're gonna give it to us." At this point, I'm extremely confused and terrified, and I don't want to open the door to confront them. I yell at them that I don't know who they are and to leave. However, this seemed to agitate them even more and began to pound on the door even harder. I knew it was only a matter of time before they would come in here and do God knows what to me. I took that time to call the police and explain everything. Right after I was telling the operator what was going on, I hear my window smash open and see them come in one by one. I knew they'd eventually find me, and so I did the only thing I could do. In the moment, it was risky as hell, but after gathering up the courage, I run down the stairs pleading for them to not kill me. However, instead of them reacting with anger or doing something potentially worse, they all just turned to look at each other with these confused faces. It was then where I could hear sirens from down the road, which was music to my ears. This caused them to get back in their van and flee. They didn't make it far though, as police had managed to find them about 2 blocks away. What police told me they learned shocked me to my core. Apparently, the people who had broken into my house were part of a major drug trafficking operation. One of their buyers had apparently stole $50,000 worth of cocaine and other goods and had smuggled them into their house. Whoever gave these people the address as to where this person might have lived had obviously given them the wrong address, resulting in them breaking into my house. The thought that I could have been killed that day will never leave me. I think the hardest part for me was facing these twisted people in court. I'll never forget them calling my name, walking past these criminals, giving me a look as if they wanted to kill me. My girlfriend and I tried to stay in that house to make the best of it, but it came to the point where we just couldn't. She would become paranoid, and I would often wake up from nightmares about it. It even came to a point where I started having thoughts about how other people from this gang would come back for us. This ultimately started to affect our mental health and even our jobs in a way. I'm not sure why this affected me so much, but we just couldn't live with it. A month later, we made the decision to sell the house and move over 2 states away to a safer area. I hope it stays that way. For context, I'm a female, and this happened just last week when I was in my first semester of college. I attended a community college right near my house as it was more convenient for me to get to and from school. Anyway, last week I had just gotten home from my first day of classes and threw myself onto my bed to relax. Being at school for long hours was enough to make me exhausted, and sleep was the only thing I was looking forward to. I get some shut-eye for a good hour or so when I woke to my dog Mia barking. This was weird as she almost never barks. I have a dachshund, big bark, small bite, and was the sweetest thing anyone could have, so when I heard her barking, I definitely thought it was strange. I dismissed it as her just barking at someone walking their dog or cat. However, it wasn't until her barks went from annoying to defensive, and that's when I get up to see what she was barking at. I could then see her barking into my parents' bedroom. She has her head up while barking as if she were barking at a person. The only problem was that there wasn't anyone there, even though she clearly knew something was there. At this point, I'm officially creeped the hell out while trying to get her to snap out of it. As I was about to approach her, she squeals back as if she was hurt or scared. I take a look at her and I see this minor gash above her stomach where I then covered it. Thankfully, there wasn't that much blood, but it still hurt her to say the least. I grabbed Mia and ran out of that house so fast to call the police. When my parents got home, I had told them about what had happened prior to them arriving. However, my parents are the type of people to take everything so lightly and lectured me about how I haven't been sleeping well enough and that it was all in my head. I know my story sounds crazy, but I saw it happen. I don't care if my parents believed me or not, as I know what I saw. Nothing has happened since, and my dog has gotten back to her normal self. This is by far the scariest thing I've ever seen, as I still can't find the words to explain it. I've had a few people tell me that it was just my dog being dumb, while others say it was something paranormal related. All of these theories were valid, but unfortunately, the second one seems more plausible. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but what I do know is that my dog obviously saw something in that room that I couldn't see, that terrified her.